You've all been patiently waiting to see the CNC run, so today's finally the day. We're gonna cut a small cabinet for John's kitchen. It's a 2-sheet cabinet, so 2 sheets of 3/4 inch UV 2-side pre-fin material. So we'll load it up on the CNC, we'll show you how we cut it, label it, and put it together.
Promotional support for this episode is provided by Quick Screws. Since 1987, Quick Screws has been a leader in both quality and performance. With warehouses in California and South Carolina, Quick Screws can deliver anywhere in the U.S. within 4 days. Quick Screws' highly trained personnel are ready to get you the product you need when you need it. Find out more at quickscrews.com.
The first step here, we need to load the first sheet onto the program here, onto the table. So I'm gonna drag it over here onto the table. You can see a little preview of what's gonna be cut. Now we need to activate the zone so that our pins pop up and we can load our material. So I'll click on this. So we throw our sheet up here. This is a 5x10 CNC, but we're running 4x8 sheets. And we have our 3 pop-up pins here, so that's what's referencing our material. Now it's gonna get loud. So typically the machine would turn on the vacuum pump itself, but we don't have the right soft start right now. That's on its way, but we have to do it manually. So I'm gonna hit this. It's gonna drop the pins. It's gonna open up the valves inside the machine. I'm gonna throw on the vacuum pump. And it's gonna suck this down, and then we can start cutting. That was the first sheet cut, 7 minutes and 18 seconds. You probably saw me throw these down, these pieces of 1/4 inch. These are just to cover up some of the spoil board. We have this set up and gasketed for 5x10, and we're running a 4x8, so we want to cover the unused portions, or at least most of them, so that we maintain good vacuum. So these are now free because we turned off the vacuum pump. See, our pins have popped back up, and if you looked at all 3, you would see that there's an 1/8 inch gap now. So we have our machine set to do an 1/8 inch trim. So it takes, an 1/8 of an inch. That's where it nests the parts so that 1/8 is removed. So they drop down out of the way. That way they don't get cut. You definitely don't want to run your CNC router bit into one of these metal pins. Now it's time to label. So using Mosaic, I'm able to generate these labels. Shows where on the sheet they are. So we can slap these on, we'll pull these onto a cart, and we can load up the second sheet. We shut the router down, no more noise. It's an air-cooled spindle, so there's always that air going. It's pretty loud. You might be able to hear there's a news helicopter overhead. And a compressor. Lots of noise in the shop. Anyway, we have our parts over here. You might notice that we have cross grain on some of these parts. John's gonna end up painting this whole thing, so we're not worried about this. When I nested the parts in Mosaic, I selected no grain. So you'll see some of the parts have cross grain where typically you would have long grain if it was a clear finish, but we have our sides, we have our top and bottom, we have our center partitions, a back, and 4 shelves. So pretty simple cabinet. We could throw it together. So we're using what's called blind dado qualified tenant construction. So we have these dados. In this particular construction I'm using, they run all the way out the back, but you can also have them run short. And inside of those fit these tenons. So we have a tenon on the top and bottom, and mortises on the sides. Have a little bit of a hair here that we don't want. So we'll put some glue. We can pop these in. They'll fit in this way. See that nice fit? This piece is 4 feet long. I just pushed it in there very easily, and it's holding itself up. So it's a very good way to assemble cabinets. It's basically like a continuous dowel. And then we also have holes here drilled for screws. So it's pre-drilling for the screws, it's cutting the mortise and tenon, it's drilling for our hinges, drilling for our shelf pins. If we had slides, it would drill for those. You can program in any type of hardware that you want, whether it's a corner unit or things that drop down. Lots of possibilities with the CNC. Both of these sheets were, see, we got a nice fit. They were about 6 minutes. The first sheet was about 6 or 7 minutes. The second one was faster. It only had a couple parts on there, and we had a big remnant. So we'll throw some glue in here using melamine glue, which sticks porous surfaces to non-porous surfaces. So being that this is pre-fin, we want to use melamine glue, not wood glue. And we'll use our favorite screw, which is the 2-inch funnel head screw from Quick Screws. So amazing cabinet construction screw. We have a full video on that we can leave a link to. So I'd like to put in my top and bottom, and then I put the other side on. I'll run my screws and I'll flip everything over and go from there. If I put it in the correct way, that would be better. So I'm not worried about lining that up yet. So very nice that it holds itself together. And you guys know how tall I am, so I'll be able to just reach up and plop that on there. I think I'm gonna need a footstool. I'll try. Look at that. So that's good construction. If you can get your other side on like that, it's almost at my full reach. Chris was kind enough to bring me a stool, which I'm gonna need to drive the screws. So let me grab a mallet. We'll tap everything flush and run some screws in. So we'll tap our joints closed. We'll get everything flush here on the front. We should be dead flush on the back as well, but we always worry most about the front. We can run in our screws, these funnel head screws, and a lot of times I actually just end up standing on the table. So we have 3mm holes that are pre-drilled. We're nice and flush right here. My battery's dying, but you see no pre-drilling necessary with these. These are just for location. We don't need to pre-drill into the side, and no countersink either. We have the carcass together. It's time to put in the partition. So we have a double partition here. That's just to make things easier with hinge plates. This will get a face frame, so it'll have an 1.5-inch face frame. Will be flush everywhere, which means we can use the same size hinge plate. I did just mark this out. We're going to install it with some staples and screws. We could program in some joinery in Mosaic, but in this instance, it would create a flip-op, meaning we need to machine 2 sides of the sheet, which is kind of a pain. So we're keeping it simple. We're just going to do this with staples and screws. So I created 2 equal openings. Get my piece where I want it. Have this line squared down, so we'll get nice and square. Good eye, shooting blind. All right, I'll pop in some screws, and then this is ready for John. So we're using 2-inch funnel head again. Look, no pre-drilling. It's a great screw. We'll do 4 screws here. All right, we're nice and flush. So the cabinet's done for what's going to happen here at Green Street. John is going to be painting this cabinet, so we're going to leave the back off, but it's a full 3/4 plant-on back, so it'll just get planted on the back here. It's got pre-drilled holes for the screws, And you can see we're bored for adjustable shelves, so we have 4 adjustable shelves that will sit like this. Just 5 holes for each, so we're not filling this whole thing like Swiss cheese. And again, we have our hinge plate holes ready to go. So yeah, if you guys stay tuned, we're going to be continuing this project next week and maybe even some following weeks. The compressor is running like crazy today. But hopefully you enjoyed. If you have any questions about how we cut these on the CNC, any of the programs we used, or the machines or tools, let us know, and we'll talk to you next week.